On today's podcast, I had Dmitriy Fominchenko. Dmitriy is a specialist in solo 401ks, and we talk all about that and why it is such a great retirement vehicle for you. We also go in depth on the differences between the solo 401k and SEP IRAs, as well as life insurance and this whole infinite banking concept. So it's really cool. I don't think I've ever really talked about retirement on any of my channels. So for those of you wondering how you can have some tax savings, how you can put some money away, this is a great episode. You'll definitely want to watch it all the way through. Now, let's jump into it. Are you looking to grow your real estate investing business? My company, Future Flipper, can help. We've taught hundreds of people all over the country how to flip, wholesale, and buy rental properties. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your investing journey. Whether you're trying to get your first deal or scale your company, Future Flipper can help. We have courses, coaching, and events for all levels of investors. So if you want to take the next step, go to futureflipper.com and book a free consultation to see how we can best help you. Once again, that's futureflipper.com. If you've ever wanted to invest with me on my real estate deals, it's now possible. At Pineda Capital, we're purchasing value-add real estate all across the country. This includes multifamily, commercial, and land development. The best part is, with my network, social media presence, and marketing strategies, we're able to get the very best deals that others don't have access to. You can join in with me on those deals if you're an accredited investor. If you want to learn more, head over to pinedacapital.com to see our current opportunities. Once again, that's pinedacapital.com. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest.
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
Innovate.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
And inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, we've got ourselves a retirement expert. We're going to go over all things solo 401k, what it actually is, and the differences between all the other vehicles you could use, like life insurance, self-directed IRAs, and all this other stuff that, kind of sounds foreign. We're going to break that down in today's episode. I've got the specialist, the man, the myth, the legend, Dmitriy Fominchenko. Did I say it right?
You got it.
Dude, yeah, man. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming by. I guess we have a few mutual acquaintances, so that's good.
Yeah.
We got Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets, good friend, and you had met a client who sold me a deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Back, so
yeah, it's a small world.
It is a small world. So I know we're going to jump into all of these Actually, I want to talk about your story because I think it's going to be cool, but tell me a little bit about what your business looks like today.
Well, our niche is self-directed retirement accounts with checkbook control. So basically, we want to help people take what they have in their retirement accounts, unlock it from their IRA prison, so to speak, or 401k prison, and give them the freedom to invest in what they want and what they control. Because, like many of your listeners probably, if you have an IRA or a 401k, it is in that prison, in those confined to stock market investments. So, and you don't have to be there. Yeah,
you should be able to invest your own retirement account.
Yeah.
So, how many clients do you guys have right now?
We helped over 2,000 clients since 2010.
2,000 clients. That's crazy. So, tell me, how does one get into this space? Like, what's your story?
Well, let me kind of back up a little bit. And as you can hear from my accent, I'm not from here.
Yeah.
I'm an immigrant, and I was blessed to be given the opportunity to immigrate in this beautiful country. I think it's the best in the world, from former Soviet Union. I lived 22 years of my life in Russia, and actually, we immigrated here as refugees. My parents are believers, Christians, and my father was persecuted for his faith, actually was kicked out of the university early in his life. My grandfather was actually jailed for his faith for doing Bible study.
Really?
When my mom was 3 years old. So, and we came as refugees. back in 1996. And
But let me touch on that real quick, because, as a Christian, we read about persecution in the Bible, right? I mean, pretty much every disciple was killed and persecuted. But you don't hear about it too much today, right? Especially in the United States. Like, I mean, as Christians, we kind of, I guess, moan a little bit. We're like, oh, all the liberal stuff and, blah, blah, blah. But, you're talking about actual persecution. And, I've heard about it in China and stuff, like with these underground churches and other things happening. But this was happening in Russia back then.
Yeah, it was happening in Russia. It was real, and my family experienced that.
Just for having a Bible study.
Yeah, so it was back in 1950s. My mom was 3 years old there, and my grandfather held a Bible study in his house, and he was actually arrested. He was jailed, and he was the sentence was he was enemy of the people. He was declared to be enemy of the people, and he actually was sentenced to death.
Wow.
But God spared his life. The death sentence was changed to 25 years of imprisonment, and he was supposed to be sent to Siberia, which has very rough, just weather condition, very cold and physical labor in a camp. But God spared him from that as well. He was a handyman working with sheet metals, and some of the officers in the prison saw that talent in him, and he was left in Moscow. And actually, he spent 5 years in jail, and then there was a change in government, and he got amnesty, and he was released. But he served 5 years.
5 years for a Bible study. What religion were they, like, I guess, forcing people to do?
Well, the kind of official religion there is Eastern Orthodox, and Christianity wasn't accepted by the government there.
Right. That's crazy, man. So you guys are refugees, and you come to America in the 90s. How old were you at the time?
Yeah, I was 22 at the time, and came here with my family, my siblings. I'm one of the 8 brothers, actually 9. So I have 8 brothers.
Any sisters?
No sisters.
All boys.
All boys. So my mom had to deal with 10 men in the household.
Wow.
Well, they're actually, I guess they were hoping to have a girl, but they got 8 daughters in law now. At least they kept trying. Yeah, they got 8 daughters in law and a bunch of granddaughters.
Yeah, that's cool. So you come here when you're 22, and what happens next?
Yeah, so my background is in electromechanical engineering. That's what I went to school back then, and I actually went to college and got some classes and was translated my degree to equivalent to BS in electromechanical engineering. Worked for a couple of years, got laid off, and then I was introduced to financial services, was recruited working locally there. And about the same time, I was introduced to a concept of real estate investing. And I started that, and then a few years later, actually transitioned full-time in real estate, was working with a local real estate investment company. Been there for a few years, and then there was a need for a self-directed company when the market started kind of changing in 2007.
Right.
We tried working with few companies. None of them worked out long-term because they, for one reason or another, and because of my experience in financial services, I was given a task to start a department, which I did. And then about a year later, I transitioned on my own and started Sense Financial.
Okay. So Sense Financial is now the company that you have today.
Yeah.
And you guys' specialty is 401ks?
Yeah, our specialty is self-directed retirement accounts with checkbook control, which includes Checkbook Ira and a solo 401k.
Okay. So for a lot of people, including myself, I don't know what the difference is between checkbook control versus other things. I have ideas, but for everybody, explain kind of the various ways that you can do retirement.
Yeah, so the conventional IRA or 401k is held by the custodian, and custodian actually has the power to restrict investment options. So if you open an IRA with Fidelity, for example, they're going to place limits on what you can do, what you can invest. And you can only invest in Fidelity products.
Right.
But IRS doesn't have those limitations. According to the IRS, you can invest your IRA in virtually anything, including real estate.
Right.
So a self-directed IRA is IRA with a custodian that doesn't place those limitations. So you can open a self-directed IRA with a custodian that allows alternative investments, but custodian is there in the middle, kind of like a middleman, and you have to go through the custodian for each transaction you do.
Right.
And many investors find that inconvenient, so that's when the Checkbook IRA comes in. And Checkbook IRA essentially is a self-directed IRA on steroids, where a special purpose LLC is created. IRA owns the LLC, and you, the client, is the manager of the LLC. And then as a manager, you can open a checking account, and funds from IRA transfer there. So that's how you get the checkbook control for an IRA.
Yeah, that's actually what I have now. I just didn't know that it was called that. I remember when I first started making some real money, I finally had a tax problem for the first time in my life. And I don't even remember. Oh, it was actually this guy at my church, ironically, who's a finance guy. He worked at Morgan Stanley, still does. His name's Kyle. And he recommended, I remember having the conversation with all these different retirement guys. One guy's like, hey, this is why you need life insurance, whole life. And I'd never heard of whole life or, what I now know as infinite banking and stuff. And I looked at him like, I don't know that really helps me, just going through the process. And then I later learned the fees that these guys make selling whole life. And I'm like, oh, no wonder everyone wants to sell life insurance. But nonetheless, I ended up going through different ones. And I don't even remember why I didn't go with the solo 401k. And we'll probably get into it. But, I settled on this self-directed IRA. And I remember I was able to contribute $54,000 or something to it per year. And I had to set up an LLC, and I was able to buy real estate with it. I could invest in whatever I wanted with it. And, over the years, I think I had it for 4 years, and I contributed, I want to say $150,000 or something. And I flipped a couple properties with it. I put it into stocks during the pandemic when it first hit, because I was like, dude, stocks are so cheap. I'm just throwing this thing all in stocks. And it ended up working. And I am not a stock expert by any means. But yeah, it ended up being about $300,000. I turned the 150 into 300 in a couple of years. And then I put the 300 actually into my fund, into my apartment deal.
Gotcha.
So I've been controlling it the whole way. Just, it's been weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's self-directed IRA. That's just one of these vehicles you're talking about. What are these other ones?
Well, let's jump into solo 401k. So solo 401k is not for everyone. So you have to qualify. While anybody can have an IRA, you have to qualify to set up a solo 401k. And the qualification is that you have to own a business without employees or be self-employed. You're not allowed to have employees working for you, full-time employees anyways. So if you do meet that criteria, then you can set up a solo 401k. It's basically owner-only plan. Yeah. So it's like a conventional 401k. If you work for a company and they offer one, well, this is your own business. You set up your own 401k, and it's designed for owner-only participants. So there's no non-owner participants in there. But it does come with some tremendous benefits. First is a significantly larger contribution limit. So with an IRA, you can contribute $6,000 a year, or with the solo 401k, you can contribute up to almost $60,000 a year.
Okay.
For participants. So let's say if you're a husband and wife team, and I have many of my clients, they're either real estate agents or maybe they flip properties. So if they do it as a team, together they can shelter almost $120,000 of their income from taxes.
Right.
I mean, just think about the immediate impact that it's going to do on the bottom line. So if you shelter $120,000 from your total income, you drop in your income that much, you're probably going to go in a lower tax bracket. So you're going to be paying and significantly lower amount in a lower tax bracket. So, I mean, you're talking about 30,000, 40,000 potentially in savings
Right.
in a single year.
Right. So, okay, they can contribute 120,000. How do they do that? Like, what do they have? Like, what are the qualifiers to contribute that much?
The qualifiers is you have to have legitimate self-employment or business activity and no full-time employees. So, and it can be any business activity, anything. If you have a Schedule C income from any activity, then you're eligible. Or if you own entity that produces business income, you'd be eligible.
And so you could contribute as much. Like, where does the cap come from on what?
Okay, so there is a certain formula that you have to follow. So you to put the maximum, you have to have certain minimum income.
Right.
So and there's two components in contributions, because as a business owner, you essentially wearing two hats, right? If you own a business, or let's say a real estate agent.
Yep.
As a real estate agent, you work for yourself. But you also do the work. So you run the business. So as an employee of your business, you can contribute about 20 grand. And then as a business can do profit sharing contribution, kind of like a matching in a 401k. And the combined total, the first 20,000 is up to 100% of the income. And then the profit sharing component, that's a percentage of your net profit, which is about 25% of the business profit.
Okay, so the first 20K, you can do 100%.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's 25%.
Correct, yeah.
Up to how much?
Up to about $60,000.
Total between the
Yeah.
20. So it's 40K and 20K.
Yeah.
Okay. So this sounds very similar to what, was happening with me in the self-directed IRA, because I can't remember the exact amount, but it was like.
So maybe it was a 401k, because typically with an IRA, contribution limit is $6,000. Now, SEP IRA, maybe you have a SEP IRA.
That's what I have. I have a SEP IRA.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, SEP IRA is similar, so there are some similarities, but for a SEP IRA, you do need a custodian. So you have to have a custodian.
I have Premier Trust.
Okay. Solo 401k does not require a custodian. You don't need a custodian. And you don't need an LLC to have a checkbook control. Solo 401k set up as a trust, and you become the trustee. So the middleman is eliminated out of the picture. There's no middleman.
Because the middleman on my SEP IRA is annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not annoying in that they nag me. It's just like, I guess the way it works for me right now is every year I have to report, hey, here's how much this LLC has, or what it's invested in and all that. And I have to report it to the custodian. And I still control it. Like, I have an LLC that buys real estate or invest in. Actually, I think when I invest in stocks, when I invested in stocks, I had to take it out of the LLC, send it to the custodian. The custodian then sent it to the stockbroker, and then I was able to go do whatever I wanted. Yeah,
you can actually do it. There is a better way to do that. You can open a brokerage account under the LLC and just do a direct transfer.
Straight. I don't need
so this way it stays under the umbrella of the LLC without leaving custodian.
Yeah. So that's the annoying part, is sending it to because actually when I invested in my fund, I had to do the same thing. I had to send it to the custodian sent it to my fund. So you're telling me with solo 401k, you don't do that.
Yeah, because there is no custodian, there is no middleman. You got the trust set up for your 401k, and trust essentially is because custodian is a trust company, right?
Right.
What's the name again of the
Premier Trust?
Premier Trust. So they're a trust company. As a trust company, they hold cash and assets for all of their IRA and 401k clients.
Right.
Okay. Well, with the solo 401k, there is a trust created that is. The purpose of that trust is to hold assets of your solo 401k.
I get it.
And you're the trustee.
Right.
So as a trustee, you control that. There is no custodian.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, what's the difference then? It sounds like they have the same amounts that you can contribute and save every year. Mine was close to 60,000 also. Why would someone choose a SEP IRA versus a solo 401k?
There is actually no reason to choose a SEP IRA. Okay.
I don't know why I did.
Yeah, well, you weren't aware of the solo 401k, but there is several advantages. Number one, with the SEP IRA, the contributions are based, it's just a percentage only. Now, if you're making, over a threshold in income, it won't make a difference. You can put the max. But if you're not, if your income is lower, if your business income is lower, you can put the first $20,000 or for this year, actually 25.
Yeah, even if you made 25 grand, you could do it all, and now you made no
Yeah,
money.
you cannot do that with the SEP IRA. It's only percentage.
25% of whatever I made.
And then with the solo 401k, it's first 20,500, and then the percentage. So you can actually maximize your contributions quicker. Now, if you're over 50, then there is a catch-up with the solo 401k, additional about $7,000 in contributions that you can put with the solo 401k. There is no catch-up provision with the SEP IRA.
Right.
With the SEP IRA, you have to have a custodian. With solo 401k, there is no custodian. So you eliminate the fees that custodian charges. And then also LLC, like in your case, if you have a checkbook control, then you do need an LLC. And LLC comes with additional cost as well and additional filing requirements. So you eliminate all of that with the solo 401k.
Okay. I'm going to have to try and pick apart why I would have picked that, because I don't like being told I did the wrong thing. So if the SEP IRA has all those downsides, okay, the solo 401k is superior in all those ways. I'm trying to think through, like, why would I have picked that? Is the solo 401k able to buy real estate? Like, how would I do it?
It can be self-directed. And again, the reason that you picked that probably because you were picking between something else.
Whole life in a SEP IRA.
Yeah, solo 401k wasn't in the picture. So that's probably why. I mean, of course, SEP IRA, especially self-directed, is better than whole life policy. But if you compare solo 401k and a SEP IRA, again, there is no custodian. The contributions can be higher and quicker. Another thing with the solo 401k or some of the advantages is that you can actually use your solo 401k as your own bank, because there is a loan provision allowing you to take a loan from your 401k, borrow from your own account for any reason. So if let's say you need personally some cash, you can tap into your IRA.
Right.
You can take $1 without being taxed or penalized for that.
Right.
Or with the solo 401k, you can borrow up to $50,000 from your account for any reason.
Okay.
And if your spouse is involved, then spouse can also take another loan. So potentially,
how long can the loan be out for?
It's typically a 5-year loan.
5 years.
Unless it's a primary residence, which it can be stretched for 15 years if you're using it to buy primary residence.
Got it. So tell me this about the solo 401k. When you're buying real estate, because this was a problem I had with the SEP early on, is that you're not allowed to use it with leverage. You can only use it to buy the asset, pure cash. So when I first had the SEP, I contributed, the 50-something grand towards it. And I was like, I can't buy anything with this. And so then I had to contribute another 50. And then I was finally able to go buy something because I had 100 grand and I was like, okay, I can go buy a mobile home here in Vegas. And so I was flipping mobile homes with the SEP starting out to build it up. And then, it just sucked that I couldn't use it as a down payment, because then I could have done way more with it. Is solo 401k similar?
Actually, you could. You can use leverage in an IRA, but that's another distinction. Okay, but we have to dig in a little bit further for you to understand.
I gotta know.
So you can use leverage in an IRA, okay, and in a 401k, but you cannot provide a personal guarantee for the loan. So the loan has to be non-recourse.
Okay.
Has to be non-recourse loan, which you can. There are lenders specializing in this kind of financing, but there are few.
Right.
So you can use. Typically, they require 30 to 40% down.
Okay.
And you cannot provide a personal guarantee. You can get financing. There is going to be limitations depending on the type of property you're buying, but you can do it. The difference between financing in an IRA, so let's say if you were to finance a property using leverage right now, let's say you're buying, in your example, you were going to buy $100,000 property,
right? And
you only got 50. So you put 50 down, and you get a loan for 50. Property is 50% leveraged. Now, 50% of the income, and I'm not giving you any precise numbers here. I'm just giving you kind of to help you understand. So half of the income comes from the leveraged portion of the property, and it's called UDFI, unrelated debt finance income. when you have UDFI, unrelated debt finance income, in an IRA, this income is taxed. There is a tax called unrelated business income tax. And so that income will be subject to this taxation. So your IRA will actually have to file a tax form, 990T, and pay taxes on that income. That's why maybe you didn't finance, because there is a, there is a reason.
It wouldn't have helped my tax situation, because I would have got taxed.
Actually, it doesn't affect your personal tax situation. It's a tax that IRA is responsible for. So that actually diminishes your IRA returns if you use leverage in an IRA.
I get it, because I'll have to pay it out through the IRA.
IRA is responsible for taxes. Now, 401k, on the other hand, is exempt from that rule on taxation. So you can finance property in an IRA, and it doesn't affect, there is no tax dues.
Okay.
With the 401k.
We all know that I love creating passive income through rental properties, but did you know that you can create passive income through owning an e-commerce store? My company, Lunar Ecom, can build and manage a store for you on Amazon or Walmart. We'll handle everything from starting the store, picking the products, and all the day-to-day operations. It's completely passive for you. If you'd like to learn how store owners are making thousands a month in passive income, head over and watch the case study at lunarecom.com. It will explain everything you need to know about the industry and why I'm so excited about it. So to see the case study, head over to lunarecom.com. Most people want to get rich at all costs. They make sacrifices with their family, their health, and their faith, all in the pursuit of money without even realizing it. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be that way? What if you could grow your wealth in all areas of life? Well, it's possible, and that's why I created The Wealthy Way. It's a community of people striving to grow together in all areas. And we have multiple tools for you to use that are completely free. You can get access to the Wealthy Way Planner, where you can set goals and hold yourself accountable on a daily basis. We also have our Wealth Builder Academy, which is over 4 hours of content teaching you how to manage your time, create the right goals, and all the biggest secrets I've used to grow my life, not only in my net worth, but in all aspects. Lastly, we have our Discord community where thousands of wealth builders are all over the world encouraging one another and growing together. And once again, all of this is completely free. There are no upsells, there are no hidden catches. For me, this is a passion project, and I want to build a community of like-minded people. So if you want to start living the wealthy way today, go to wealthyway.com. There you can get all the free resources like the course, planner, and Discord community. So go to wealthyway.com. So let's now talk about the taxes. So one of the reasons I picked the IRA, not knowing the 401k solo, is that the taxes were going to help me this year. Because in my mind, I said, hey, I need tax help this year. A lot of these other retirement accounts are post-tax. I wanted pre-tax money. So pre-tax being, hey, if I contribute $50,000, I get a $50,000 write-off this year.
Deduction.
Now I'm going to have to go, deduction. I'm going to have to go and pay that tax when I, am 59 or whatever, when I start collecting. And in my mind by then, it's like, whatever, I'll kick the can down the road, just like the government likes to do. And is solo 401k post-tax or pre-tax just like that? Or?
Well, that's a really good question, because with solo 401k, you do have an option. Solo 401k contributions are pre-tax and tax deductible, but solo 401k also has a ROT provision. Okay, you don't have that with a SEP IRA. You may know about ROT IRA, right?
Heard of them.
The ROT IRA contributions go post-tax. You pay the taxes now, and then you invest tax deferred, and distributions are tax-free. Well, with the solo 401k, there is a ROT provision allowing you to make after-tax contributions. So you can pick. You can choose 1 year maybe. If you have lower income, you can contribute to ROT if you don't need as much deductions. Next year, if your income is higher, or if you choose to, you can contribute after tax. So you do have an option. You can have 2 buckets in your solo 401k, pre-tax and after tax.
So solo 401k can do either. It can buy real estate. It can invest in those things. I mean, from what I'm hearing, like, what is there a downside? What is it?
Well, just like...
What's the catch? You got to tell me the catch, Dmitry.
Again, the catch is that it's not for everyone. So not everyone is eligible. You have to qualify. Not
But
everyone
the only
is
qualifier is you just can't have employees, right?
and you gotta have a business or self-employment activity.
I mean, okay, take a guy like me. I have employees in multiple businesses. What's to stop me from just creating an LLC with no employees?
There is a control group rule that IRS put in place to actually, they thought of that.
Yeah.
And they don't want you to bypass offering retirement benefits to your employees. So if you own two businesses, for example, and one business has employees and the other one doesn't, then you cannot set up a solo 401k because the IRS looks at them as single business, as one. It's called the control group.
This would be the reason why I didn't set it up initially.
Yeah. If you had employees at that time,
did.
you were not eligible.
Okay. I'm like, man, I don't feel like I would have missed
That
I'm like,
now it makes sense.
I feel like I'm pretty thorough. When I make a decision, everyone listening, when I make a decision, I analyze everything pretty good, like pros and cons, and I'm like, okay, this is the best decision. I was like, why wouldn't I have picked this? But there it is. I didn't qualify.
You weren't eligible.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. But I will say for most people watching this podcast, they probably are eligible. Most of you, if you're a realtor, perfect candidate for this, right? You got your own LLC, you're by yourself, doing your thing. That makes sense. So for sure, if you're just one person, solo 401k trumps SEP IRA.
Yeah. Well, and I want to touch on something else that you said. Well, you wanted to get the tax deduction now, which I'm kind of with you. I don't like paying taxes. Who likes to pay taxes, right? I wanted to, maximize my deductions, right? But there is a balance. Okay, I'm gonna give you example. Okay, and then maybe a couple examples. One example is I have a client who started with about $100,000 in his Roth 401k, and he invested in crypto. Now I'm not going to promote crypto. I'm not a fan of that. I don't invest in that, but I'm just giving you an example. It can be anything. He invested $100,000 in crypto about 7 years ago, and he has over $1 million right now.
Yeah.
So all this gain will be tax-free. All the distributions will be tax-free.
Yeah.
So an example here is, would you rather pay taxes on the seed that you plant or on the harvest? Okay. So it does make sense. Now, another example is, if you're making profit and if you need every possible deduction, then you probably want to do the pre-tax. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a balance, I think, and I personally been doing that. I've been maximizing my pre-tax deductions until I started investing in syndications, and I was my CPA did a great job and was able to minimize my taxes almost to zero.
Yeah.
Then now it makes sense for me to do Roth because I don't need as much right after. Yeah, I do have other ways that I can minimize my tax liability.
Yeah, I want to hit on 2 points you mentioned. So the first is, pre-tax versus post-tax, like you mentioned. It's a big thing to think about. If you're currently making a lot of money, your first inclination is always going to be, let me get this deduction right now. And that's kind of why I picked it, because at that time was the first time I was ever going to have a 6-figure tax bill. And I was like, dude, this is a lot. So I went the pre-tax route. But to your point about the guy with crypto, if you end up killing it with your investments, then the post-tax would have been far better. And I guess my thinking back then, I set up my SEP IRA, I want to say 2017. I was like, hey, you know what? When I'm old, I looked at it in 2 scenarios. One, I'm old and I'm not making as much because I'm just, old and I'm not working. Like that's kind of what people do in retirement. That was one thinking. The second thinking was I've killed it so much in business to that point of being old that I don't really care what I get taxed at. Like it's just irrelevant to me at that point. So I don't know.
Yeah, this is a common question I'm being asked, okay? Should I do Roth? Should I contribute to Roth or should I do pre-tax? And I always say, listen, I can't answer that question for you because everyone's situation is different. There is a number of factors that you have to consider. I don't think any one of us can answer that question and the answer is going to be different for different people. because you have to look at your current income. You have to look at your current tax bracket, right? You might have two people whose income might be the same,
Right.
but one has a bunch of write-offs from syndication investments, the other one doesn't. So,
Right.
and then you have to look at also the investments. Like in this example, if you have the ability to, let's say, invest in some opportunity that has that will produce significant returns, well, that makes sense.
Right.
So you got a number of factors to consider, and then future income and future taxes too play a role.
Yeah, because people don't know what the taxes are going to be in the future. Most people think probably higher than today.
Well, I mean, if things continue the way they are right now with the current administration, we can only expect taxes to be going up.
Yeah. Actually, before I ask you for my own advice or for advice for me, you mentioned crypto. So with self-directed IRAs, I remember back 2020 when all this was going down, I actually wanted to go really heavy into crypto with my IRA. I was like, dude, I think crypto is going to be great. And they were like, no, we can't do it. There's no way to do it. And then I start seeing these commercials now, a year and a half later, they're like, hey, you can put your IRA with us and you can invest in crypto. What's the deal with crypto these days?
You can invest in crypto using your IRA 401k money, but to do it with an IRA, you have to have a checkbook IRA. So you can't do it with the custodial account. You have to have
do it with custodial.
Cannot do it. So
that was my problem.
You gotta have a checkbook IRA. So out of the LLC, you can invest. You can do it with the solo 401k as well directly. You can just open account. Think of the solo 401k as an umbrella. So under this umbrella, you can own a piece of property, you can have a bank account with cash, you can have exchange account with crypto, and you can have a brokerage account with mutual funds or stocks.
And you can lend it to yourself.
And you can borrow from it. You cannot lend it to your business because that will be a prohibited transaction, but you can take a loan from the solo 401k.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So, I mean, for me today, my situation's way different than it was in 2017 when I bought it or when I got it. Now I'm making millions of dollars a year. Like I look at it and I'm like, this $50,000 deduction is not going to do anything for me at this point. So what do you recommend for guys like me?
I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask this question.
Because I just, for me at this point, I don't see the benefit of a retirement account. I haven't even contributed towards it anymore because I'm like, this does nothing for me at this point.
Yeah, and that might be the case.
Yeah.
But you're probably more of an exception than the
normal.
The normal. Most people don't make this kind of money. So, I mean, like I said, we've done over 2,000 of this over the last 10 years, and people, grown their retirement accounts and they're making money, but it's a more of a tax question because
their yearly active income is like at that level.
Yeah, and my expertise is self-directed solo 401ks and IRAs. It may not apply to you, but you need a good tax strategy.
Yeah.
Probably, there is a number of things, but that's not my, I don't want to be, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in something that I'm not.
Well, for everyone listening, you probably know I have a tax company called TrueBooks, and that's what we are experts on is just, helping people who are high income earners figure out how to, put their taxes down. And, some of those strategies that we're talking about today definitely apply. We recommend to some of our clients like who fit this, like, dude, the $50K deduction is huge for you. It's going to change a lot of stuff. And then for guys like me, we're like, you're better off doing XYZ. So if you want to go learn more, you can go to truebookcpa.com. But I guess for the solo 401k or the SEP IRA, depending on if they have employees or not, that's really what it comes down to. What do you see as the income level that it really starts to make the most sense?
For the solo 401k?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if the income is the determining factor here because you got to look at the bigger picture. there might be somebody who is actually, they have a full-time job, right? They have a W-2 job and it's well-paying and they're enjoying that. But they may be flipping a house or two on the side.
Right.
Or maybe they wholesale a few deals. Well, they don't need this extra income that they generate. So their goal is actually to grow that. And so they take all of or most of their self-employment income and they shelter that into a retirement account.
Yeah.
Solo 401k can be a good fit here. And then you might have, let's say if somebody is self-employed and they only make $50,000 from their self-employment, well, there is, that's, barely enough to live on, right?
Right, they're not contributing.
There's no point. I think you got to look at the overall situation, but...
That's why I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, if you're making 100 to, say 300,000, it makes a lot of sense. And maybe at 100, you're not contributing 50 grand, but, at 300, 400, to contribute 50 grand is going to save you a lot in taxes. Yeah. You probably make enough that you're not going to be sweating not having access to that.
Yeah, but again, you're putting money away, but you're saving on taxes. So you actually... Exactly. It's not like you're depleting yourself by 50 grand by contributing 50 grand because you're going to be saving on taxes, probably 20, 30 grand.
Right.
So, it's going to level off. And then if you have a spouse in the business, then you double that. So that's even a greater impact.
Yeah.
But, I think there is everyone's situation is different. So, and to give my perspective on someone's situation, I really got to kind of know more about them before giving any recommendation.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I still involved in my business on a daily basis and I talk to every client. I want to make sure it's a good fit for them before they move forward.
100%. So I want to transition. We're talking SEP IRAs and solo 401ks, and I think that's going to be great for a lot of people. But one thing that people always get pitched and ask me about is whole life. Infinite banking. What do you think about it?
Well, a short answer is I'm not a fan of this strategy. I actually, in the past, I've been in the life insurance business and I had my insurance license, but I wasn't doing any of the whole life policies because I could not do. I wanted to do what's best for the client, and I couldn't see, if somebody again. There might be a place for certain people, but for average folks, somebody who's, let's say, again, a self-employed making $200,000 in income. If they wanted to basically improve their current situation tax-wise, and if they wanted to put money away towards retirement, then solo 401k beats that. You'll be better off just placing money under the pillow than giving money to the insurance company because the first year premiums that you're going to pay, they just go to the pocket of the salesperson because, that's their commissions.
That's how they get paid.
And then after that, there's still a lot of fees. So with solo 401k, you take this money, you get a tax deduction, and then you control that, and it's 100% your money.
Yeah. So explain to everyone how whole life works. What is it?
Well, whole life is, let me maybe take a little bit different approach and approach that from a different angle.
Okay.
You have a car insurance, right?
Correct.
You understand how it works, right? If you pay for it, if you get in a car accident and your car is total, they'll pay, right? If you hurt somebody in a car accident, well, the insurance will pay for the medical expenses and so on. You don't want that to be on you. That's why you get a car insurance. Now, if you've been driving for 10 years and you got no car accidents, right?
Yeah.
Do you expect anything back from that policy?
No,
because you had the protection. The same thing with the home insurance, right? The same thing with the health insurance. You get the protection. Well, only life insurance industry, they became creative and they said, well, rather than paying, we're going to give you something back. So essentially, a whole life insurance policy is you paying for the insurance, but there is a savings component. But there is a whole bunch of things in the middle. as far as the fees and the commissions and so on. And so the whole life policy, you pay for the insurance, and then a portion goes to all the fees, and then portion goes into a savings account, so to speak. And then it actually grows over time. But for most people, it's never a good idea to actually combine the two. You want to just buy cheap, inexpensive term life insurance policy if you have people, your family, dependent on you financially, right? If you're the breadwinner. Then if something happens to you, they will be devastated financially. But take all this extra money and invest it on your own. Don't give it to the insurance company. Mm-hmm. There is much better ways to invest. So keep them separate.
Yeah, that's exactly when I first heard it, and I'm definitely not an expert, but they told me that basically you can contribute as much as you want at the front end. So that's what they say is better than solo 401k, because with us we're talking, hey, 60 grand is pretty much where you're capped. They're like, well, with whole life you can contribute whatever you want. You want to go $1 million, you can go $1 million. And it's pretty confusing how they explain it, but like when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, like they show you this chart of like, hey, by year 8 you finally break even. I'm like, year 8, why would I ever invest in something where year 8 is the first year I like, what are we talking about here? That's terrible. And that's not even to like make a profit. That's to make all the fees back that they've made to that point. And then they're like, years, whatever, 9 through 30, you're going to kill it. And I'm like, dude, years 9 through 30, if anything, I'm going to kill it. Yeah. Like, I don't understand. And then it was like, well, you get also a life insurance policy for this amount. And I'm like, I can go get term. And term life insurance is
just a fraction.
Cost me nothing. Right now I have term life insurance. I don't even know what I pay because it's so small. Yeah. And if something happens to me, I'm not going to say how much, my wife's going to get because I don't want any, I don't want any issues, but she'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't need an assassination is what I'm getting at. But I don't understand. I guess like, to me, it seems like it's all marketing, because then there's this whole thing you see with infinite banking. And I've read all the books on it. It's like, become your own bank. You can borrow from it and then pay yourself. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not paying myself. I paid to do this.
They're not talking about the cost of doing so. That's the component that's typically missing from the presentation.
Yeah.
So, and again, there might be a place for it for some people, but it's certainly, those are more of an exception.
They're the outliers where it makes sense.
Yeah, so for most people, buy cheap term life insurance and invest the difference on your own, because no one is going to care more about your retirement than you.
Right. Yeah, and I know after this podcast, I'm going to get so many DMs from all the whole life insurance guys, and be like, well, here's what you don't get. And I'm be like, yeah. And what's funny is, I don't even know, but you're talking about exceptions, and then you said last time I was the exception. I bet you that there's going to be people like, dude, you're the exception now. It makes sense for you now.
Could be. I don't know. I'm not the expert in life insurance. I understand the concept, but that's my take.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I actually had another guy on the podcast who we were talking about title insurance. And, he was saying something like, with car insurance and with all these other insurances, they pay out like, I don't know, 80% of something. Like the people contribute, say 100%. 80% of that actually gets paid out to claims, and the other 20% is, the profit. To
the insurance company.
To the company, right? And he's like, do you know how many people get paid out on title insurance? He goes, have you ever been paid out by title insurance? I was like, dude, pretty much no. And I've paid millions in title insurance. And he was like, yeah. He's like, 3% of people get paid out in title insurance. The 97% they keep. And I was like, he's like, title insurance is a scam. And I was like, I know it's a scam because, it just is. Like that's not right.
Either a scam or a good business model.
Whatever you want to call it, right? It's a legal scam. But, and I love my title officers and whatever, but it's just like, dude, the business model's messed up when, that's the ratio.
Those are the numbers, yeah.
And you have to buy it. The lenders make you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't not buy it unless you're paying cash. So it's crazy that it has those kind of returns. Makes me want to own a title company, but I think crypto and blockchain are going to change that. So that's my opinion. But is there anything else we should know about retirement or anything you tell your clients?
Well, I'm going to repeat this. What I said earlier is that no one is going to care more about your retirement than you are, right? If you have just a traditional or a conventional IRA or a 401k managed by a stockbroker, they get a percentage off of your portfolio that they manage for you. They have vested interest. So I just want to encourage people that there is so many ways to invest the money, and you can do it better than the stock market. And another thing is why you want to do that is for the diversification purposes. In the Ecclesiastes, there is a verse that says, divide your portion to 7 or even to 8, because you do not know what misfortune may occur in the earth, right? I mean, we experienced that over the last couple of years. Right. Look what happened with the pandemic and how that changed things a lot in some areas.
Right.
So if you have all of your retirement in just one basket, right, which represents stock market, well, you're risking because it's just one basket. You want to put it in different baskets, and you can do real estate, you can do private lending, you can do maybe some crypto, whatever. But you want to spread out to minimize your risk.
Right. And
self-directed IRA or 401k allows you to do that.
Yeah.
Truly diversify.
Yeah. I love that, man. For those who want to learn more about this and potentially work with you, where do they find you?
Our website, sensefinancial.com, and sense is like common sense because
SENSE,
yeah, because
.com.
What we're talking about is financial concepts that make sense. I mean, it's just a common sense. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Bigger Pockets.
Cool, man. Yeah, we'll definitely link to your stuff down below. Retirement's important, obviously, for saving, but it's important today too for taxes. And that's the battle, man. Once you start making a lot of money, you got to figure out how to keep it.
Yeah. And, I just want to make this offer again. I'm not trying to make a sales pitch or anything. Mm-hmm. I don't have to work. I've been blessed just like you. I've been blessed with the business and investments that I made. But I love helping people. And if you want to talk about your situation, I'm happy to speak with you. So 15 minutes is on me. We can talk. And, if you see a benefit, you can take advantage of it. If not, maybe I can help you point you in the right direction.
Cool. Well, I love it. Well, Dmitry, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for coming out to Vegas, man. And for everyone else, thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe so you catch the next episode. And we'll see you later. Peace. Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.